Hello, this is Dr. Miller. Thank you so much for your interest in the ideal protein weight loss method. I want to take a few moments today and talk to you a little bit about the diet, how we started the diet, and why we brought it into our practice, and some results that our patients have had. I also want to talk to you about the science behind the diet, and then also the cost of the diet and some of the responses that we've had with it. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, we had been in practice in our office. My wife and I have been in practice at our office in Marion for approximately probably 13 years or so. And we've been having great success with patients in our chiropractic practice. But one thing that we noticed is that a lot of patients were still having quite a bit of health issues, even in light of the improvements they're making with their chiropractic care. And as we started to look at it, the one thing that was a common denominator of all these patients was obesity. And we tried a lot of products, and we even changed the corporate structure of our office, spent quite a bit of money to do that in order to bring in a medical procedure in order to help lose weight. And at the last minute, we really decided that that wasn't kind of congruent with what we were wanting to do with our patients. So I was doing a class at Logan and found Ideal Protein advertisement. We started looking into it, and it really makes sense, and it's really congruent with our philosophy on health. And so there's really no stimulants. There's no what I call magic fairy dust along with the diet. It's really a clean diet. It's a very low inflammatory diet. There's no stimulants. There's nothing that increases your basal metabolic rate or anything like that. But it is effective, and it uses physiology of changing the macronutrients in our diet in order to lose weight effectively and also retain protein. So we've been using the diet. We're the first ones in Southern Illinois to bring the diet to Southern Illinois, and we have been having some really great success over the last few years of doing it. Obesity statistics: 23.9 million children ages 2 to 19 are overweight or obese, triple the rate from just one generation ago. Among Americans aged 20 and older, 154.7 million are overweight or obese. The total excess cost related to the current prevalence of adolescent obesity is estimated to be $254 billion. And there is not one state in America that has an obesity rate of 20% or less. This obesity has caused a lot of issues and compromised health, and it has its own syndrome named after it. It's Metabolic Syndrome. And the components for metabolic syndrome in U.S. adults, the stats behind that is 24 million men and 40 million women suffer from abdominal obesity. 25.8 million people of all ages are affected by diabetes. 67 million American adults have high blood pressure, and 71 million have high bad cholesterol. The impact that obesity has on the individual's health is a plethora of disease processes. It increases your medical risk of high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea and other breathing problems, cancer, joint problems, osteoarthritis, stroke, and reproductive problems. Not only is there a medical risk associated with obesity, but there's also non-medical issues as well. And that is emotional well-being, low self-esteem, and bias and discrimination from society because of the obesity-related issues. The main culprit is sugar. And when we look at sugar, we have to look at all carbohydrates, because biochemically all carbohydrates turn into sugar. And when you're shopping, if you look at the amount of carbohydrates in the product that you're purchasing, if you remember the conversion of 4 grams of carbohydrate equals 1 teaspoon of sugar, what you'll start to find out is some of the seemingly healthy things that you've been purchasing may not be that healthy at all. When we look at some of the sugar donuts and the fast food, we inherently know that too much of that is not good for us. But typically when we're looking at a good Italian pasta meal or something like that, with a side of breadsticks, we typically don't look at that as being that unhealthy of a food. But when we don't eat that in moderation, that increases our overall sugar load within our system. As a matter of fact, it has become pretty significant. If you just think about this for a second, in 1905, North Americans ingested 5 pounds of sugar. And what I want you to do is I just want you, in your head, take a guess of what in the year 2013's North Americans ingested in pounds of sugar per year. Did you double that? Did you say 10? Maybe you even said 20 pounds. Maybe you're bold enough to go up 10 times that amount to 50 pounds. Typically, when I do this presentation to a live audience, that's about the extent that they're able to or are willing to wager on that. But when we look at the stats, it's 150 to 200 pounds of sugar per year that North Americans ingested in 2013. And what I tell my patients a lot is, we can't take on that much of anything in our body to be able to adapt to it. So taking on that much sugar is definitely going to have repercussions on our system, and has become a modern day epidemic. The 4 hallmark signs of metabolic syndrome are seemingly unrelated, but they share a common cause, and that's hyperinsulinemia coupled with insulin resistance. When we look at metabolic syndrome, the components are obesity, high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, and insulin resistance. A lot of you listening to this will have 2 to 3 or maybe 4 of these. If you're on the call and you're a younger individual and you're just having the issues with obesity, I can tell you that I've seen enough over the past 3 years to let you know that the other things are coming. The obesity wreaks havoc on our physiology. So if you don't have all of these things, it's good. Now's the time to get it taken care of. And if you do have these things, it's time to turn the tide and get your body back on track to being whole and healthy again. So the modern day epidemic. So where are we headed? Just to kind of paint you a picture of what this means for our overall health, the current generation of children are expected to have a shorter lifespan than their parents, mainly due to repercussions from obesity. A third of U.S. children are expected to develop diabetes, and 1 in 4 Americans aged 17 to 24 are unfit for military service due to obesity. Why and how we store this fat? One is bad eating habits. In today's society, we're on the run all the time, and something grab and go is better than nothing. What we think, it's really not, but we pull into a fast food restaurant and grab something and go. A dysfunctional pancreas. The more sugar we bring in, the more our pancreas has to work in order to produce insulin in order to get that sugar out of our bloodstream. And lack of exercise. The more we exercise, the decrease of insulin resistance we have, and it increases our ability to store sugar in our muscles. So even though this diet doesn't have exercise as a protocol in it necessarily, in today's society, there's not a lot of activity that's taking place, and that's definitely setting us up for a perfect storm. So this culprit is insulin, and insulin has 2 roles. Most of you understand that one of the roles is to lower blood sugar, but many of you may not be aware that the second role is to store calories in the form of fat. So when we increase our sugar intake, we increase our levels of insulin, we kind of have a perfect storm to be able to efficiently store these excess calories that we're consuming in the form of fat. In order to understand how we need to burn the fat, we first need to understand what are the 3 sources of energy that our body has. Your body will always burn carbohydrates or glucose or sugar first. Once that store of energy is used up, your body turns to protein and fat and typically burns protein and fat at the same rate. With ideal protein weight loss method, we'll maintain the muscle mass and burn stored fat for energy. So we have to reduce the carbohydrates in order to get into the protein, which is muscle and fat burning. But we want to supplement the protein so we don't burn our stored protein, which is in our muscles. So by using ideal protein, it makes sense that we will use the macronutrients of fat for our stored energy, and that's the only thing that we really want to use. So with a typical diet, you'll lose three things. The first one is water. As you start to lose weight, if you're not losing it properly, sometimes you can become very dehydrated. Water is very heavy, so you don't have to lose a lot of it to lose quite a bit of weight. And if the only way that you're measuring your success is through the scale, you can lose a lot of weight, but you may not be losing the right type of weight. So we don't want to lose a lot of water. You can lose fat on a typical diet. That's what we want to lose. But you can also lose muscle. So if we lose fat and muscle at the same rate, and we lose the weight, but then after the diet we regain the weight, even though you lose muscle and fat at the same rate, you don't gain muscle and fat at the same rate. So when you put your weight back on, you gain more fat. So it may be in a process that we lose 20 pounds, lose 10 pounds of muscle and 10 pounds of fat. When we put 20 pounds back on, we've put 20 pounds of fat back on. And that is not a good scenario, because when we regain the 20 pounds, we put the fat back on, but not the muscle. So our body's actually in worse shape than before. Remember, muscle is the engine that burns those calories. So we want as much of that lean mass on our body as possible, because it makes it more effective at burning fat. So the low calorie balanced diet. So this is the diet that a lot of patients are on that just reduce your caloric intake by half. In order to lose weight, you have to reduce your caloric count. You have to take in less calories than you burn. That's how you use stored macronutrients for energy. So we have to decrease the calories. But when we decrease the calories in the wrong way, it sets us up for a wrong approach. So if we just reduce our calories, just decrease the proportions of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, just reduce those all by half, it's the wrong approach for optimal fat loss and muscle sparing. So it equals muscle loss and creates deficiencies in vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes. So this is why the ideal protein weight loss method is different. On the left, you see the bar chart here that's the balanced diet. It's approximately 2,000 calorie diet. You can see the proportion of fat and protein and carbs. And then the red bar there is the vitamins and minerals that you have, and that's at 100% of what you need. On the hypocaloric diet, we just reduce everything by half. So we reduce the carbs by half, we reduce the fat by half, we reduce the protein by half. But also your vitamins and minerals are reduced by half as well. On ideal protein, there's a different approach. Remember, you burn your carbs first. So we limit your carbs significantly to the point that you can still have proper neurological functioning, but decrease it to the point that we can start to burn fat for energy. We also reduce your fats. We don't want to be taking in a lot of fat, or we won't rely on the fat that we have stored for energy. But the one thing that is different is we keep the protein approximately the same as the amount on the balanced diet. If you look at the ideal protein phase 1 and the balanced diet, there's the same, if not just a little bit less of protein on ideal protein than what's on the balanced diet. So this isn't a high protein diet. This is why it's termed ideal protein. A lot of times when my patients are talking to their medical doctors, they'll say it's a protein diet, and their medical doctors will assume that it's a high protein diet. That's not the case, and high protein diet can actually be very detrimental to your kidneys, and we don't want to do that. But the protein that you'll be consuming on ideal protein is the same, if not just a little bit less than on the balanced diet. So it's not a high protein diet, but it's enough to keep you from using your muscle-bound protein for energy. And then we supplement with vitamins and minerals to keep that vitamin and mineral count up to 100%. So none of the nutrients that you need are lost on this diet if it's done appropriately. So the ideal protein weight loss method, to sum this up, we have to reduce calories in order to use stored energy for fuel. So it reduces the calories, but we also want to maintain the vitamins and minerals and electrolytes, and it does that through supplementation. We also want to maintain muscle mass. We don't want to get in a situation where we've lost just as much muscle as we have fat. It's the wrong approach for losing weight and maintaining that weight loss. So we maintain the muscle mass by using high biological value protein to ensure that that muscle is not used for energy. And ensure adequate protein intake to keep that from happening. So here's the math behind diet and calories. On the average, a woman on ideal protein will lose 2 to 3 pounds per week. Now, we cannot guarantee that. I need to let you know that. However, I will tell you this. If there's someone on my diet and they're not averaging 2.5 pounds per week, I really start to get concerned that they're not following the diet appropriately, and we really start to look into the situation. So we've been doing this for 3 years, and although I can't guarantee the results, I will tell you that if it's not around 2.5 pounds per week on the average, then I believe that there's a problem with the implementation of the diet. So 1 pound of fat yields approximately 4,000 calories. 2 pounds of fat is going to yield 8,000 calories. So we're going to use a conservative estimate on the pounds per week. I think that you'll probably experience a little bit more than that, but we're going to use two pounds of fat for this example. So 8,000 calories over a 7-day period, that's the caloric burn you're going to get from using that stored fat for energy. That yields 1,142 calories per day. When following the ideal protein weight loss method, you'll also receive 850 to 1,000 calories daily from the diet that you're going to eat, the protein packets that you're going to consume, the vegetables that you're going to consume, the lean meat that you're going to consume. So when you look at that together, that yields approximately 2,100 calories per day while on the ideal protein diet. So why is protein so important? One, we've talked about it, we want to prevent muscle loss. Protein also equals vitality. The people that lose weight on this diet are not the typical, well, I don't want to say typical, but they don't have that skeleton sunk in type of look when they lose weight. And some of these people have lost a significant amount of weight. We have one dieter that's lost close to 200 pounds on this diet, and very, very healthy weight loss. Maintain the muscle mass, don't appear a sunken in type of look. And the first thing that people start to comment on the dieters on this program is that they look younger. So protein equals vitality, and everything which is vital in the human body is made of protein. So we don't want to become deficient in it. Why can't you use this information that we've discussed tonight and just use animal products, something like a South Beach diet or something along those lines? Well, you definitely can, but the only thing that's really that significant about ideal protein is the absorbability and the high biological value behind the protein. So if you look at a significant or a comparison between 5 ounces of filet mignon, which has approximately the same amount of protein as one of our protein packets, you'll see that you get twice as much calories with that filet mignon than what you will with an ideal protein packet. So we can keep that protein value up and really reduce the caloric intake by significant margins. So it helps us to get that overall caloric intake down and allows us to burn food or burn fat much more effectively. Overview of ideal protein weight loss method. Phase 1. Phase 1 is the weight loss. So our dieters will come up with their goal weight loss. What weight would you like to be at? And as long as it's in a healthy range, then we put together a program of care to help our dieter achieve that. After phase 1, after we reach that goal, we have what's called the pre-stabilization phase, phase 2 and phase 3, where we start to reintroduce foods. Phase 4 is a stabilization phase, and that can last up to 12 months. However, it's a phase that you're on your own. You're off of the diet as far as buying packaged food, unless that's something you desire. So conclusion, weight loss has 2 contracts. One is to lose the weight. We've helped hundreds of people lose weight over the last 3 years. So it's something that we can do and do very effectively if the patient is compliant with the program. But the other one is to maintain the weight loss, and that's where the responsibility of the patient comes in. Remember, no diet is definitive. It's not a vaccine against obesity. We can set you up to succeed in your weight loss goals, but if you continue to do the same things that you've always done before, you'll always get the same results. So not only do we want this to be a weight loss goal for you, but we want it to be a lifestyle change for you. So you do lose the weight, but you keep the weight off. So are you here to lose weight, or are you here to lose weight and learn how to keep it off? because that's really who we want to work with. We want you to obtain your goals, but we want you to obtain your goals and maintain those goals. So how does our body store fat? Well, fat is stored in a large molecule called a triglyceride. A triglyceride consists of one molecule of glycerol and 3 fatty acids, and they're stored in a fat cell, in a fat cell in the combination. Insulin is the hormone that enables fat to be stored in these fat cells. So when we have fat and carbs that come together, insulin is present, and that's the key that kind of unlocks this fat cell. So you're going to have one molecule of sugar, 3 molecules of fatty acids, and that's what equals the triglyceride. So with our food combinations, if we combine our food appropriately, what we can do is keep the carbohydrates and the fats away from each other, combine our fats with our protein or our carbohydrates with our protein, and one leg of that biochemical equation won't be present, and you won't be able to store fat in the form of carbohydrates. See, it's not fat that makes us fat. A lot of people think that, and we've been recommended a high-fat or a low-fat diet for the past 30 years, and as a result, obesity rates have actually skyrocketed. It's actually fat in the presence of sugar that causes fat to be stored. So if fat is not in the presence of insulin or sugar, then you don't effectively store fat. So the ideal protein products, they're highly absorbable. You can keep your caloric content down and lose weight very effectively while maintaining muscle mass. It's a superior quality. It has a high biological value. There's over 60 food products. The products are manufactured in a licensed pharmaceutical facility by Therapeutic Product Direction of Health Canada. So what that means is typically you're only going to find ideal protein products in physicians' offices. Physicians have to be a part of ideal protein. They have to do the protocols of ideal protein. And ideal protein is also governed pretty strictly by Health Canada. And so if there's any type of quality issue with their foods, they pull everything off. They pull that lot of food off the market. So you can feel confident that the level of product that you're getting is a very high quality. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the cost. We don't want to lay this out for you and talk to you about what the initial consultation, what you'll be looking at as far as the starter kit and what your weekly purchase will be. So when we look at this, the cost of the program, the initial consultation with me includes 3 months of body impedance scans. That's actually where we have you, where we measure your lean mass. So not only do we weigh you, but we also measure you, and we do this lean muscle mass test, which is a computerized program, and it makes sure that we're only burning fat. So by using those 3 methods, we're not just weighing you. We're using 3 methods to make sure that we're progressing with your weight loss. We will, at the end of this presentation, I'll give you a number to call if you're interested in starting, and our receptionist will send you a profile, a medical profile. You'll need to fill that medical profile out before coming in for the consultation. I'll go over that medical profile with you, make sure that there's no contraindications for you to do the diet, make sure that there's no meds that we need to discuss with your medical doctor to change or to watch, and it takes us about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how complicated the medical history is. I'll also explain the diet in detail, and I will also we'll measure you, and then we'll start the diet if that's something you want to do at that time. So that consultation is $100. You'll also purchase a starter kit. This will start you off for the first week. And what I want to do is I want to just spend a little bit of time talking to you about how we run the program. So the program is going to be, you're going to purchase the product from us, and you can see that the weekly purchase is going to be around $84 per week. So you'll come in on a weekly basis, you'll weigh, you'll get measured, you have the body impedance exam, and that'll be around $84 for your food purchases. The visit you're not charged for. So as long as you're purchasing the food that's appropriate for what you should be purchasing, then there's no fee for the weigh, the measure, and the consult on a weekly basis. But on a daily basis, you're going to start off for breakfast, you're going to do an ideal protein food, whether it's a shake or a breakfast bar or whatever. There's a lot of different choices. So whatever that choice is, you're going to do a breakfast ideal protein. For lunch, you're going to do 2 cups of vegetables and a ideal protein for lunch. For supper, you're going to do a lean meat and 2 cups of vegetables. And then for a snack at night, you're going to do an ideal protein product as well. So you're going to be purchasing 3 of those packets per day. But for the first part of the week, we want you to have 4 meals per day. So it's going to be 28 meals that first week. So it's a little bit more than what you typically will see on the diet. Just because we want to get you used to not eating as much, we want to slowly start to wean you off of not eating a significant amount. So we have found with our dieters doing 28 meals that first week really decreases a lot of the hunger issues, and also helps to satisfy them a little bit more as they're starting to understand the diet and to get going with the diet. So the starter kit includes 28 meals, the sea salt that you'll do to help with some of your minerals, the vitamins, and also the supplements. So that starter kit is $195. There's also a shaker bottle in there that we didn't list. So the initial consult is $100. The starter kit, the product that you're going to purchase, is $195 for that first week. After that first week, we have weekly food purchases of $84. So you'll come in, you'll weigh, you'll measure, you'll do your body impedance exam, and then you'll purchase 3 boxes of food, and that'll get you through the week. And that's typically $84. Here's the references for all of the information that we share with you today. So if you want to look up any of those statistics or any of the things that we discuss, there's some of that information. So if you're ready to get started, I would invite you to call our office. Our staff is ready to assist you in the next step of this ideal protein journey, and also answer any questions that you may have. Our number is 618-997-8066, and I look forward to working with you and obtaining your overall healthcare goals. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.